What is up, Wretched Nation? Today we're going to do a full comprehensive review on those Legend Revo A shocks we put on my 2018 Road Glide Special. Fast improvement over stock. I want to talk about what we did, how they rode. We've put quite a bit of miles on them, so I feel like I have a pretty good idea of their worth and their value. But before we get into it, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. We're very close to 300 subscribers. I'd greatly appreciate that. I do appreciate everyone who has been subscribed so far. Appreciate you returning. And just real quick, if you want to, check out our merch down in the description below. We are wearing one of the Wretched Nation tees today. So check that out. Link will be down below. Let's get into this review. All right, for those that may not know, these are Legends Revo A's for your 2018 Road Glide. They fit pretty much Road Glide, Street Glide, and I can't remember the year, but they go back pretty far. And they're all the same. I think the biggest difference is there's like a different mounting situation you have between the years. That's pretty much it. But just a quick tutorial on them. You adjust by spinning this coil. That's your preload, so your best way to do that is to get whatever weight you're gonna have, like you or your passenger. You get you and your passenger on the bike, and depending on your shock length you go with, you have a predetermined preload that you want between shock to shock, or shock bolt to shock bolt. You want a certain height with the weight on the bike, fully loaded down. So that's your first adjustment. And what's great about that is on a trip, when you're going somewhere or whatever, and the first trip we took with this, we did give it some more shock because it was a little bit too loose. When we got it completely loaded down, we tightened this up and I made it ride a little better. And then you also have rebound, which down here is just a dial that you click, very super easy. You can get to those with the bags on. And that's just going to help with the rebound of the shot going back to its position. And that's going to kind of give you a stiffer or firmer ride, depending on what you want. Best thing with that is to just get on there, ride, and see what you like. Good thing about that adjustment is you can kind of get away with maybe a misadjustment or add in some extra weight for a shorter ride. You can probably just tighten that up a little bit and it'll help you some. But these shocks are $1,000. That's the retail. Now you can probably get yours a little cheaper. I got mine a little cheaper. Check out your local shops, check out anybody, and they'll probably give you a decent deal. Of course, you can probably pick them up on the used market. But the shocks are amazing. And we'll get into that a little bit. I want to ride when I do that. But just to prove that we did some miles, there are some videos of me going, but we went just about 4,000 miles with these shocks so far this year. I've ridden a lot of those miles by myself, but most of those miles two up. So that was the biggest thing I was looking for, is I was looking for the comfortability for my rider. That's what I was looking for. But overall, shocks were amazing. Let's hop on this bike and actually ride and tell you what I think about them as we go.
Alright guys, so as I stated before, we've put roughly 4,000 miles on these shocks. And I've had, if you subtract the mileage, that would put me at, I don't know, what, about 13,000 miles on the stock shocks. And I've told multiple people this, and it is true. It is the biggest change that I've done to this bike, the best thing I've done to this bike since I bought it. For me, it's a better change than the exhaust, the breather, the bars. I mean, it is the best change I have done. And I know that, you know, typically you might do stage one exhaust, or, you know, the handlebars or a seat or something like that right off the bat. But I'm here to tell you that, you know, just like most things on a stock Harley Davidson, they gotta go. And these shocks are amazing. Now I'm comparing these to stock. I'm not going to compare these to any other brand because I haven't had them on this bike. I did have a set of, or I still do have a set of drag specialties on the Dyna, but that's apples and oranges, so I'm not going to compare there. But overall, these shocks are amazing. I really don't have a gripe about them. We did not go with the remote reservoir just because there was no real reason to. I did talk to the guy who was selling them to me that owns a shop, and he said, you know, that's really for show. 90% of people are never going to need that extra capacity. And I was pretty sure that, you know, I wasn't going to need it anyways. I just wanted to ask. But these shocks are worth every penny. I can't stress that enough. They are amazing. I kind of have them in a middle ground. I've got them set to where it's a little tight for me by myself, and it's just a tad loose when the wife's on the bike. But I do that to keep from adjusting them. I could probably, if I had to guess, maybe give it a turn or two loose when I'm by myself, and then turn around and give it 2 turns. I could probably give it, if I had to guess, I could probably give it a turn tighter for me right now, and then when the wife got on, I could probably loosen it up 2 turns, and then that would give myself a 2-turn swing whether she was getting on the bike or not. And it's not that big of a deal, so I don't worry about it. But if I wanted to get it completely dialed in, that's probably what I would do. Having the adjustability of the rebound is kind of nice. You can really stiffen up that ride some, or you can really make it float. And if you're riding by yourself, you definitely might want it a little stiff. If you got a passenger back there, you're definitely probably going to want it to float. And if you are into wheelies and stuff like that, you know, shocks are a big part of that. People don't realize that suspension is very important, and the setup to make it easier to do wheelies. I was very surprised at how much more this front end wants to come up on the bike just by changing the shocks out. Now I did go to an inch taller shock. I'm on 13 instead of 12, and if it's a little loose, that suspension will really bog down and really want to lift the front end of the bike up. So I mean, it could make it easier to do that for sure. But the stock shocks, they're basically one shock with a stabilizer. And I don't know if people really know that, but the left shock is where all your adjustment is. It's one big shock. And the right shock has got this teeny tiny paper thin coil that you can, with all the weight on it, you can actually turn the coil and it just spins. There's no real pressure on it. That's kind of just like a stabilizer. Those shocks are garbage. You know, from the factory, they're just not worth anything. I think they're probably better than the stock, you know, the old stock air shocks that Harley would use. I've never had a set of those, but I've had multiple friends with those, and they, you know, you got to keep your little air pump with you because those things will leak down. But you know, it's just Harley's never going to give you exactly what you need, but these Legends can. And I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I did get a decent deal, but I don't have to say anything about these that I don't want to. And I genuinely just love them. Definitely thinking about possibly ordering a set for the Dyna just because I know how great these are. I will say the only bad part about having these rear shocks is it really shows you how bad the front end is, and it makes you want to get the front cartridges right away. And that's not a con because it's not a bad part of the rear shocks. It just shows you how bad the factory shocks are. So I would love to do that possibly this winter. I don't know. I'm not going to make any plans for it. But overall, these shocks are just amazing. Went down in Key West with them. That was really the first trip. We went over, I think, a little over 2,000 miles to get there and back. And that last day coming back, me and the wife did 650 miles with the bike completely loaded down, me and her. And when we got home, I asked her, we were riding all day long. And I asked her, I said, hey, how you feeling? Are you able to, would you be able to ride further if we had to? She said yes. And before that, her longest ride was like 490 miles in a day. And she was always beat pretty hard once we got to our destination. And, this just made it so much better. So whether you're riding by yourself or you're riding two up, these shocks are amazing. And I definitely suggest you looking into them. They got them for all the bikes with the external shocks. I'm pretty sure they got them for the soft tails too. But just number one thing that I would do to your bike pretty early on is get a great set of suspension. You have to do it. But I hope this video helps you out if you're deciding on whether you want shocks or not. Let me know down below, what have you been thinking? Are you thinking about ordering shocks? What brand do you want to go with, or what you got? Let me know. And definitely let me know if this video helps you. I appreciate all the feedback. But if you will, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. But as always, keep it wretched.